Hello, everybody. I am going to show you how it is that I write reports. I have written a bunch of reports at this point, and I think that I've got quite a nice little system down that I think is helpful for people to see so that they can see how other people are doing their reports and take what works for them and leave the rest. And so I'm in here in staging. None of this is real. This is all fake data and information. So what I start with, I'm imagining that I'm going into this after my S2. So where I start actually is the assessment report. And what I start with is down here in social emotional reciprocity. I'm just going to do social emotional reciprocity so that you can see a section, and then I'll talk about some sections that stand out, but I'm going to go through just writing social emotional reciprocity rather than the whole report. So what I do after my S2 is I'll come into this in the portal in the report, and all I'm going to do is go down to the rating forms. So on a self-report rating form, he reported that, and I'm just going to copy paste, comma, copy, paste, comma, copy, paste, period, and great. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the other report. See what they said. Not a lot, but I'm not worried about the number of these that are in here right now. All I'm doing is copy and pasting. That's it. Then I'm also going to do on a childhood form, the sibling reported, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and copy, paste. Great. I'm going to do this for every section, just that. Do the same thing for nonverbals all the way through. I will also do that when I get to childhood. So when I get all the way down here, Devin sibling reported, and then copy paste everything into here. Once that's done, I then go back to their S3 prep note. This is where I write most of my report. So as we were doing uh, with the report, I'm going to use this as the way that I determine where this falls. Not evident, maybe evident, or clearly evident. This clearly evident was pre-selected before I got here, so typically this would all be blank. And what I'm going to do is write the interview portion of the report in here. In a clinical interview, Devin shared. And I'm going to go down in the charting notes to the social emotional reciprocity section. These yellow boxes are super helpful. And so what I do is I'm going to read this sentence. In the interview, Devin said that she cannot manage situations that require small talk because she becomes too anxious and doesn't know how to manage the situation. For her, based on what I know of her and the conversations that we had, that does work. So I'm going to just literally copy paste that over. I'm going to make sure not to leave any of those kinds of artifacts in here, but that works because that is what she said. Then I'm going to, and by that I mean for some clients, this might be not nuanced enough for what it is they actually said. So I might alter this for other clients that gives it the nuance that it does need based on what they described. But once this yellow box information is in here, I'm going to use the information from these other questions to provide a supporting sentence or two. So for her, I might say she described that she sticks to the same topics in each conversation, such as how was your drive? Um, because of her level of anxiety. She described that in the moment, she blanks on what she might want to discuss with others. Don't mind my typos, I'm going to fix those later. In here, she said it's been 3 years of being in social settings. I've had to learn from whoever I'm with. When I first started my job, I stuck to myself. Great, that's a really good. It's been 3 years of practice. When asked how she learned these skills, she described that she has been geez, practicing, and this has helped her improve. I'll do that for the whole way down. Yellow box, supporting sentence. Yellow box says, supporting sentence. These are great to combine. She described only sometimes being interested in what others discuss and generally understanding what others are discussing. That's a great and easy way to combine those, and then providing a supporting sentence here. And I follow that all the way down, even all the way through childhood. So I might go down here and say, in childhood, she described that these were more pronounced and that she struggled with sarcasm and it hurt her feelings. I'll add a little bit more here because there is really good data in here. Um, and that is going to be how I write that. If I need to, if I go over here to this report tab, I can see what I included on those self-report, other report, and childhood form rating forms. So once this is all done, again, I go through and I do this for each section, but I'm going to, as I go, sort of look at what I wrote and see how impactful it feels. I'm going to look at what I wrote in the report regarding the rating forms, and I'm going to use all of that to then make an argument here for one of these sections. For her, we're seeing this sort of pervasive challenge across many different contexts. And so I'm going to go with clearly evident on this. So I'll do that the rest of the way through. In each section, writing up what they said in the charting notes by using yellow box and then supporting sentence all the way down, checking the rating forms to see how that balances with everything, and then making a determination about whether or not these are not maybe or clearly. As I mentioned, the area of childhood is a little bit different because in childhood we have childhood other. This is going to be the person that filled out that SRS, or excuse me, that SCQ. It's also maybe going to be the person that filled out a supplemental. So I will go through and say, on a rating form, sibling reported, and we've got a lot of data here. There's good stuff in here. In looking at this, I probably would have sent a supplemental as well to make sure that I had a fully robust understanding of this client. But then in the next section, this childhood self, this gets a little bit different. We will always do both what the client said and what the SCQ said or what that other reporter said. So both of those need to be included in their report. And so when I write this section up, when you look at the charting notes, of course, we have what we do at 5, 10, 15, and that is wonderful and important, and we do need that. But then what I also do is I'll go through what we discuss in the S2, and I'll give each section, so social emotional reciprocity, nonverbal communication, relationships, etc., I'll give each of these sections about a sentence so that I can say, of course, here we go. In childhood, that she struggled with sarcasm. She didn't have a lot of conversations with others. She often looked down and to the side, and it was always uncomfortable. By doing so, especially when we get into the RRBs, um, let's see if there's any, sensory things. Didn't want to be around loud noises. Not a ton in the RRBs, and that's okay. But what we're doing in this section is really saying we have these traits of autism that we can draw a line through, both currently and in childhood. So if there are a lot of things that are in these first three categories, and we're giving each of these a sentence and they're very pronounced, but then in the RRBs, we don't have much to say, that likely will track with what the client is saying now, or we can make conceptualizations about why that might be happening. But by adding in about a sentence per domain, we're making a much clearer case for this person in general over sort of the whole conceptualization. When I've done my S3 prep and I've written those interview pieces into this, then I'm going to go back into my assessment report. I'm going to go down to social emotional reciprocity. And what I'm going to do is we've got the DSM here. All I need to do is copy this in and paste it. This is then also where I will say, okay, so this is what we have in the clinical interview. This is what we have in the rating forms. Are there any things that I need to explain? Are there any things like for this spouse report here? Devin's reporting a lot in the clinical interview and on the self-report, but we've only got one thing from the spouse here. Does it bolster my case if I go into show all responses and see if there are any often trues? This isn't often, but it's a reverse score. So not a lot of other things to talk about. But if there were things that maybe she often has difficulty answering the questions or often is not competent in small talk, those kinds of things, it might be very helpful to go in and do that and add that as a bolster. But I'm really doing that once all of this is in and I have a better conceptualization broadly for this client so that I can make these cases, explain why certain things might be low, so on and so forth. So that is how I write my reports so that it is fully comprehensive and also so that it is easier to write because there's a little bit of a system. Yellow box, supporting sentence. Yellow box, supporting sentences. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know.